I am honored to introduce to you our presenter today, Dr. Lisa Andrews. Dr. Andrews received her Ph.D. From the University of Arizona. She is a certified career counselor and certified master of career services. But more importantly, Lisa is our newest team member here at Professional Certificates at Georgetown University. And we welcome her, and we are so excited. Thank you for agreeing to do the first Knowledge at Noon. Dr. Andrews.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Welcome, everyone, to Is It a Calling? Our Knowledge at Noon this afternoon. As Jeff said, I am Lisa Andrews, Director of Integrated Career Development. Just a few months in the School of Continuing Studies. Very, very excited to be here and share some information with you about Is It a Calling? Jeff mentioned my certification, so just to reiterate those, all the letters behind my name. Of course, PhD stands for Profusely High Debt. CCC is Certified Career Counselor, and CMCS is Certified Master of Career Services. Those designations are given by the National Career Development Association, of which I am a member. It's my go-to professional organization that I belong to. Also, as it's indicated here, I am a certified Clifton Strengths coach. Clifton Strengths is an assessment that is given by Gallup, and I have information on the last slide about that if you're interested in taking the assessment, because this presentation is based in large part on some of the philosophy and tenets of that assessment. The assessment assesses 34 of your most prevalent talent themes, which, if added with skills and knowledge, can become strengths. And with those strengths, you can gain a lot of insight about your work life, about your relationships, about your avocations, and just how you approach the world. So it's a very, very useful assessment. I do use it with students. I use it in my private practice. If any of you have taken the assessment and would like a coach to review it with you or help you interpret it, it certainly is self-interpreted. When you go to the Gallup website to get your results, you can take advantage of all of the reading materials they provide about your talent themes. But if you would like a coach to go over it with you, I would be more than happy to do so. And I have a link to my calendar on the very last slide. You can certainly make a 30-minute appointment with me, and we can go over your results. Okay, without further ado, let's go. Oh, also, please have your phones available, your cameras open. We're going to have a couple of interactive slides for you to participate in the presentation with. We won't ask you to say anything. You'll just be typing in your answers. So we'll move to that. And so to our first interactive slide, what do you think of when you hear the word calling? I'm very curious to know what your thoughts are on this. So what you'll do is scan the QR code to join Slido.com, and then you will type in the access code at the bottom, which is 7544055, and enter your responses, as many as you'd like, into our word cloud. So I'll give you a moment to do that. Just click on the QR code and then type in your access code there and type in your answers. And I see we have some answers already coming in. So let's see what those are. What do you think of when you hear the word calling? Okay. I see many of you are answering the word purpose, strength, helping, fulfillment, passion. Wonderful. These are all great. Legacy, super fulfillment. I see many of you have entered purpose, and certainly calling can be described as purpose in your life. And when I'm talking about calling today, I'm going to be referring to calling in terms of your career development, since of course I am a career coach. Calling can certainly be applied to your personal life in terms of your relationships, certainly as well as your avocations and so on. But for the purposes of today's presentation, I am going to be referring to calling as in regard to your professional career. So let's move on. Now, as I'm defining calling, your calling is what you want to do with your life. Your talents and strengths determine how you will get it done. And I believe that everyone has a calling, it just needs to be discovered. And so by acknowledging your talents, you can begin to discover your calling. So all of these words in italics here, again, have to harken back to the main tenets of the Clifton Strengths Assessment, but you don't have to have taken the assessment to absorb these terms and learn more about your calling. And certainly your strengths really are what we're going for here, what we're really talking about in terms of how to discover your calling. And in a bit, I'll also be talking about the 5 factors that determine whether something is a calling or not. And just one more interactive slide for our presentation today. Where do you believe your calling comes from? There could be many places where a calling could come from. I'd really be curious to see what your thoughts are on where your calling comes from. And of course, this is free answer. Okay, your soul, your heart. Very nice. Your talent, heart and mind, development, helping others, skills. Certainly, these are all very, very valid answers. Great, thank you so much. And certainly, some also believe that a calling is, and not just clergy or lay people in the church, religious, but some do believe that calling is something, God's plan for your life or something like that. I've heard that as well. So certainly calling can come from a lot of different places, and I'm seeing more answers pop up: interests, childhood dreams, what you like to do, what you like to enjoy, and so on. So yeah, certainly calling can come from many of these different areas. So thank you so much for your participation. And that would be our last interactive slide. So if you want to put aside your phone, you can certainly do that now. So as I mentioned earlier, there are 4 building blocks of a calling, and those are your talents, your skills, your knowledge, and your strengths. I'm going to go into breaking these down a little bit before we get to the 5 factors that determine whether something is a calling. First, your talents. So your talents are naturally reoccurring patterns of thought, feeling, or behavior that can be productively applied. And unlike skills and knowledge, talents naturally exist within you and cannot be acquired. So these are inborn predispositions. These are your spontaneous, top of mind reactions to any situation you may encounter. And they are transferable from situation to situation. So again, unlike knowledge or skills, these go with you wherever you are. For example, being competitive, you can probably remember even being a child, playing Candyland, you were probably always competitive. This is something that was sort of baked into you when you were born. Picking up on the emotions of others. Some of us have had this empathy all of our lives that we've experienced. Thrive under pressure. Again, something that is born into you. It's not really something you can learn or that something is acquired. It's something that naturally occurs within you. It's a sort of, that spontaneous top of mind reaction to a situation. The ability to make someone laugh. That's certainly something that is kind of inborn. Someone who enjoys puzzles. Again, something that just naturally exists. And being able to envision or clearly articulate a future scenario. So these are all talents that we have, and talent is one of the building blocks of a calling. Now, skills. Skills are basic abilities to move through the fundamental steps of a task. Now, unlike talents, skills can be acquired through either formal or informal training. And some examples of skills include adding and subtracting. These are certainly things we learned way back in elementary school. Processing a customer's insurance claim, certainly a skill that one was trained to do. Using software to prepare a presentation. Somewhere along the line, I learned how to use Google Slides and create this presentation. That is a skill. Giving a patient an injection, something that a nurse, a doctor learns throughout their training. Preparing a lesson plan, again, something a teacher is taught to do, or professor is taught to do throughout their training. Or even check someone into a hotel. These are all skills, and again, they can be acquired through formal or informal training, very much unlike a talent, which is inborn. And finally, knowledge. Knowledge is simply what you know, and you can acquire knowledge, again, similar to skills, through education or training, or it can be experiential. So something you go through gives you situational knowledge. For example, why and how the Civil War started, or the fastest route to the grocery store. These are simply knowledge that you have acquired over your education or training or experientially. So while skills and knowledge can be acquired, they will not significantly help you unless they enhance a talent. So they sort of build on what's already there naturally. So here on the left side, you can see I have a surgeon there, and she's getting ready to perform some sort of operation. And then on the right, we have an accountant. This is my depiction of an accountant who looks very busy crunching numbers. And again, so although skills and knowledge can be acquired, their applicability is restricted because they can be very situation specific. So just because this individual here is a successful accountant doesn't mean he could be a successful heart surgeon as well. The skills and knowledge required for accounting are, as you can imagine, quite different than those needed to perform a successful heart surgery. However, given enough time, commitment, and the opportunity to learn, an accountant could theoretically learn the skills and knowledge necessary to be a heart surgeon and vice versa. But talent is a different story. So without possessing the talent for these activities, this job, the heart surgeon would not excel as an accountant, and the accountant would not excel as a heart surgeon. And certainly we want to have a heart surgeon who knows how to excel at this, and an accountant who we want to excel as well. So again, you can get the skills and knowledge to do it, but unless you have that innate talent that's inside of you, you won't necessarily be successful as either one of these professions, and that goes for really any profession. So to kind of put all these terms together, so a strength is the ability to provide consistent, near perfect performance in a given activity. And this ability is a powerful, productive combination of that base talent, those acquired skills, and that knowledge. And so when you enhance a talent, as I mentioned earlier with the heart surgeon, the accountant, by adding the right skills and knowledge, you have created a strength. And it's your strength that really speaks to your calling. So let's move into the 5 factors that determine whether something is a calling. The first factor is that it aligns with your talents. And demonstrating this, you experience rapid learning. So, when you're in the job, you are picking it up really fast. It's really, really speaking to you. You hardly even need the training. You experience this rapid learning. Also, it's deeply satisfying. So this appeals to you at a very base level of your being. Also, there are glimpses of excellence. So when you're really, when a calling really aligns with your talent, you are demonstrating sort of the best of how this job can be carried out. You're in the flow, so to speak. You lose yourself while you're doing it. And I can speak for myself. I do believe that my career coaching and counseling is a calling, and it has been for over 25 years now. I've always wanted to do this when I first was exposed to it back in graduate school. And when I am coaching someone, I do kind of lose track of time. I lose track of what I'm doing. I'm really in the zone, so to speak, with a person. So I know for myself, it's most definitely a calling, even from just this one factor. And you have a yearning to do it. And what I always like to tell people when I'm coaching them is you want the kind of job or calling where you look forward to Monday as much as you look forward to happy hour on Friday. So you really have this sort of yearning to do it, and a deep desire to carry this out in your life. The second factor that determines whether something is a calling is that it's consistent with your values and your strengths. So what I like to say here is it's that it's in eternal, fundamental alignment with who you are. You know, it really magnifies your values. It magnifies your strengths. Again, remember, a strength is that performing that near perfect performance in a given activity, because it's really demonstrating your knowledge, your skills, abilities, and what has become a strength in you. It's your judgment of what is important in life. And I think someone actually mentioned that in our earlier word cloud. And you can see the expression of your values within it. So I know one of my values has always been helping people. And where that has turned into a strength is really helping people achieve their goals, helping people to clarify what it is they want out of life. That's how my counseling and coaching is a calling to me. The third factor is that it contributes to others, or you can say to yourself, what difference am I going to make? So when it's truly a calling, it's impacting the lives of others. And truly, even a hotel clerk can be a calling, because truly you are helping others. Think of that middle of the night disaster that happens and they need to step in. It's their calling to contribute to that person and to provide that excellent customer service, making a difference in their life. The fourth factor is that it's something you have a unique insight into or knowledge of. So you see something missing that you can contribute, and you're called to provide it. So when I'm coaching someone, especially when it comes to kind of goal clarification or role clarification, and trying to find one's place in their in the work world, I often ask them to consider two things. One is kind of, what question do you have? What sort of burning question in the world do you have that you want to answer? And then how are you going to answer that question? What companies might be already working on that question? Or what graduate school programs or certificates or opportunities for learning will help you answer that question? What will really help you fulfill your calling? Or I also ask them to consider, what problem is there in the world that you want to solve? What's really out there? And then, what's missing? What can you contribute? And what are you called to provide to help solve that problem? And then also, who's already working on solving that problem? Or would a graduate degree, would a certificate help you solve that problem? Will it give you those additional skills and knowledge necessary to augment your talent and help it to become a strength? And then the fifth factor is that it feels exciting and fulfilling. It gives your life meaning. And I think someone also mentioned that in the word cloud earlier. It's truly a future worth living for. It's almost as if you never want to retire. And it calls you to action. It's really something that propels you forward and wants you to pursue what it is that your calling is for you. So those are the 5 factors that determine whether something is a calling. And so, as I mentioned earlier, remember, is there a problem you want to solve? Is there something unique you have to contribute to the world out there? Are there questions that are burning that you want answers to that really kind of feed into your calling? And how can a certificate help you pursue that calling? I can't help but bring this up considering I help people in my own career development practice determine how those certificates are going to push them forward and really lead them more toward their calling. And so remember, skills are those basic abilities to move through the fundamental steps of a task. They can be acquired through formal or informal training. So in this case, formal training through a certificate or boot camp can teach you new skills to develop. For example, learning Python, certainly a skill that can serve you very well in the data field. Can definitely look great on your resume. I will say employers are most definitely hiring specifically for that skill. It can definitely enhance your cachet in the job market. And that can help you pursue your calling. Learning how to think. This is a skill that can be acquired. It's something that is a skill is something that needs to be practiced, developed, and learned over time. And certainly how to think is one of the benefits of pursuing one of our certificates. And then learning how to handle a challenging conversation at work. This is certainly a skill that can be acquired and practiced through this formal training you can get through getting a certificate. And of course, knowledge. Remember, skills, knowledge, add to your talents, becomes a strength. Knowledge is simply what you know, again, to review, and you can acquire knowledge through a certificate or boot camp to enhance your knowledge base. So as some examples, what strategic leadership means, learning more about that, and then how can you become a strategic leader? And what management styles there are, and maybe what management styles you possess. So learning about the different management styles can help you determine who you are as a manager and who you would like to be, and how will that contribute to your own calling. And so to review, a strength is the ability to provide, remember, consistent, near perfect performance in a given activity. And this ability to do that, to deliver that consistent, near perfect performance, which seems like a very sort of lofty goal, but it's truly possible because this ability is a powerful, productive combination of talents, skills, and knowledge. And so when you enhance a talent, by adding the right skills and knowledge, which of course you can acquire through formal education, you have created a strength. And when you discover your talents and link those talents with your strengths and your passion, you are living your calling. And by living your calling, there truly is no telling what you can accomplish in your work, your relationships, and your avocations, and how fulfilled you will feel while doing it. And I think someone also mentioned being fulfilled on our earlier word game. And one of my favorite movies, here's William Wallace, who had such a calling to free his people. One of my favorite quotes is, "Your heart is free, have the courage to follow it." So this is hearkening back to the movie Braveheart from 1995. And again, what I wish for you is that you can find your calling and use your training, your experience, your knowledge to develop your strengths and to pursue your own calling. And again, if you wanted to take the Clifton Strengths Assessment to find what those talents are and name them, we certainly know ourselves very well, but to find them, to name them, and then to see how they can be developed into strengths, I invite you to visit gallup.com. And of course, if you did want to take the assessment, I'd be more than happy to help you interpret that. And I give credit to the book, Living Your Strengths, Discover Your God-Given Talents and Inspire Your Community. One of the authors is Donald Clifton, the late Donald Clifton, who is, of course, one of the founders of the Clifton Strengths Assessment. So I give credit to this book for helping me prepare this presentation.